Welcome to the X's and Argos film session for Game 8, Week 10 of the 2022 CFL season. My name is Ben Grant. Believe it or not, this is by far the most requested topic I've had all season. And if you had asked me to guess this preseason what it would be, this would not even have come up. I get why, but it is such an odd topic. Argos fans want to know why their team has had so much trouble converting on 2nd and 1 and 3rd and 1 situations this season. And really, it goes back to last season as well. I've been waiting till we had some good film on the Argos going around the edge, and we finally saw 2 examples of that this weekend when they introduced the Chad Kelly short-yardage package. So we've got enough to go on now. So in Canadian football, 3rd and 1 should really convert every time. Unlike the NFL, where the defense can line up right off the football, the defense in the CFL must give an entire yard of space, so that yard that you're trying to earn is just waiting there for you to take it. And since the offense also has the advantage of knowing when the ball will be snapped, a quarterback sneak has always been the best and easiest way to convert a first down or to get a touchdown, and it should be automatic. All right, let's take a look at Montreal here against Toronto. This is from the season opener, and this is exactly how you want a quarterback sneak to look. Now, it's not really fair to compare because not every offensive line can provide this level of push. Montreal is pretty unique. They absolutely steamroll the Argos defensive line back into the end zone. I want you to notice at the end of this play that every single Montreal player is in the end zone, and use this as a point of comparison when we not only look at Argos examples, but every other team. Each one of these guys won their individual battle. And if your offensive line can do this, great. Your quarterback will convert every single time. It's an easy sneak. But it's not something that every single team and every single offensive line can do. It is sort of unique to Montreal. There's a reason that Dominique Davis, the backup quarterback for Montreal, leads the league in rushing touchdowns with almost twice as many as the leading running back. And it's not without skill. It's not like Davis doesn't do anything. There is a skill to this as a quarterback. Being big certainly helps. But watch Davis as he gets set to sneak here. He has a slight lean just before the snap. It's not visible to the defense to allow them to key on that for the snap count. And it's also not enough to get a procedure penalty from the officials, but it's just enough to allow him to explode forwards. Not that he needs any help on this snap behind this offensive line, but that's the ideal quarterback sneak. It's a combination of offensive line play and skill. So if your offensive line can't just plow ahead every time into the end zone like Montreal's, you should still convert 3rd and 1 every time. You just go about it a little differently. Let's look at the Red Blacks against Toronto a few weeks ago. This is Tyree Adams, which is a little weird because Caleb Evans is actually really good at this, but he's not just plowing ahead. He's looking to see where the advantage is because, believe it or not, there are blocking rules in place. I know it doesn't look like it, but there are on quarterback sneaks. Ottawa's maximizing their advantage by having 7 guys on the line of scrimmage. They're all squeezed in as tight as they can get, shoulder to shoulder. And not only that, notice where they're placed. You can kind of see it here from their hands. They're right on the ball, which you never see on a regular snap. You're supposed to be, but usually the tackles cheat a little bit. They're usually about a yard off because that's an advantage in pass protection, and you do it every time because you don't want to give away what's happening. For a quarterback sneak, games are sort of out the window here. Everyone is on the line to gain an advantage. And really, it makes sense. Everyone knows you're running in these situations. If you're going to risk it and pass, that's fine. I think a defense will take that every time. I also want you to notice that every offensive lineman is in a 4-point stance, which you also don't see on normal plays. They're ready to explode forwards. This is designed for one thing. The defense is at a disadvantage. They've only got 6 guys squeezed into that same space, and each of them is severely outweighed by the offensive lineman in front of them, which is very common in the CFL. So with the numbers advantage, Ottawa's going to down block from the left, and Nate Bahar is going to get in here in between Chris Edwards and the ball. And so that's going to leave a gap right here. And there's nothing that the Argos can do about it as long as Adams goes to the right gap and no one gets blown up. This is going to convert. And this is Hamilton running the sneak against the exact same look. It's the same result. Even though Toronto was lined up offside on this play, it didn't really matter. Same look, same result. Let's look at Toronto running the same play. So we've got 6 guys along the line of scrimmage, which is fine because BC is going to match personnel packages. That said, I would rather have 2 backup offensive linemen in as my tight ends because, like, what are we doing here? Like, I know Carbone does give you an advantage if this is play action, it's a pass. But again, everyone in the stadium knows this is a run. Get your best run blockers out there. And in this particular game, that would have been Zamora and Richards, both well over 300 pounds, as opposed to Carbone, who comes in at 225. Again, it's not his fault. It's just he plays a different position than what I want out there. I want 7 offensive linemen out there. But other than that, this looks pretty much just like what we saw from Ottawa. Toronto's got 6 guys blocking. And we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in the middle. So they're going to down block from the left, just like we saw. Ambles is going to get in front of Lacombo. And so that is where Simmons should go for the easy touchdown. Look at the space that's created here. It's the exact same setup, the exact same play, the down block, the receiver getting in between the ball and the DB. It only needs to be for an instant. So why didn't this work? Well, a few reasons. First of all, I actually think Simmons did get in. There's no video angle to support that, but if you look at where his legs end up on the play and where the ball must have been, this is a touchdown. Unfortunately, no one actually saw it, so there's nothing you can really do about that. And also, unfortunately, he didn't help himself out by launching himself into the pile on the wrong side. There's some other problems here too. So from a coaching standpoint or a play calling standpoint, notice that they are not simply a yard out. They're almost 2 full yards away from the end zone. This is on the coaching staff, but it's also on the quarterback for not letting the coaches know where the ball is spotted. In a lot of stadiums, BC Place included, the Argos spotters are not in a great position to see where the ball is here. And there's no way that they should be running a quarterback sneak from the 2-yard line. And that being said, like with all the things that went wrong here, they still almost got 2 yards and maybe did get 2 yards. So it shows you that it can be done. This was a series of things that went wrong, and it still really was a successful quarterback sneak. That brings us to this disaster. The Argos are actually on the 1-yard line here, so that's good. And again, they're going to go with the 6-man line, Carbone on the right. But look at what BC is doing. This is different. Between the Argos' 6 linemen, the Lions have 8 different guys. Now, you can still run the sneak. You can almost always run the sneak, but it needs to be an immediate surge from Simmons. And not behind the left guard, because that's where the numbers disadvantage is. To get this advantage, BC is cheating on their coverage. They're kind of ignoring some of their own sort of football rules. It's man coverage, but they're not respecting it, and that's in favor of shutting down the middle. You notice here, no one's lining up with Ambles or even looking at him because they know it's going to be a run. They have sold out on that, and they're basically saying, "Look, if you want to pass out of this, that's fine. Go ahead, take that chance. We are going to stop the run." Now, remember that first play when Montreal had their whole team in the end zone? Let's see what we've got at the end of this play. Only Deveris Daniels and half of Dejon Allen are in the BC end zone. When this is how defenses line up on your quarterback sneak, you either need to hit it quick or go around the outside, and that's where you have the advantage. But again, a few things went wrong here that led to the Argos' demise on this play. And so going around the outside, that's what we've got here. Toronto has a 7-man line, and Hamilton is going to stack 8 guys in the middle and ignore the fact that they're in man coverage. And lo and behold, it works. Toronto runs to the outside, and they've got an advantage there. Again, if they're Montreal, they could probably still convert this up the middle. Toronto still can too. It's just not necessarily a smarter play. The smart play is to run where you have the advantage. Hamilton did it to Toronto when they stacked the line and pinched inside, and theirs went for 30 yards, which is why you go outside when the advantage is there. And now that Toronto has a outside quarterback run on film, coming into this week against the Stampeders, I bet you do not see Calgary lined up with 8 guys in the box because they've seen the Argos work around the corner. They've seen them get the edge in that Chad Kelly package, and he can do what Jamie Newman did on this play and run it for 30 yards. So running around the outside, if the middle is stacked, is the smart way to go, unless you're confident you can still smash it up the middle, which is still a possibility. Knowing the snap count and having that free yard, it can still be done regardless of the defensive formation. All right, let's talk about the shotgun. So shotgun with a yard to go, I don't like it. Unless you're prepared to throw most of the time, I don't like it. But if your plan is to run out of the shotgun from here, needing a yard, you're putting yourself at a disadvantage. Look, I went through a phase in my coaching career for about a year and a half where I ran out of shotgun on the goal line. My rationale was that our shotgun run plays averaged about 6 yards a carry. Our back was really good at finding holes when he came at it from depth. And so to me, surely he could get 1 yard. And most of the time he did, but not always. And the flaw in that line of thinking, as I sort of mentioned before down here, the defense stops following their coverage rules. So what worked in the middle of the field isn't going to work down here anymore because they know you're going to run. They've already decided that you're running. And if you actually are, you're in trouble. And that's not the case when you're running on 1st and 10 from midfield. When you're in shotgun, the offensive line has to block for much longer. It takes only like one guy losing their block to completely blow up the play. And that's not what you get when you're under center, a yard out. The Argos have a 7-man line, and we got 9 guys in the box. So the outside should work, but we are in shotgun. And so that changes things. The defense is now going to be rushing, not submarining into the line, and that makes a difference. Let's see what happens here. So Wynn beats McKellar, and that is going to disrupt Kelly's initial path. If we look at this, let's look at this from the other angle. You see Wynn here, McKellar here. This should probably be a penalty on McKellar for the headlock and then wrestle to the ground. And let's back this up, look at Churchill. So if Carney's going to dive inside, Churchill has got to get Simone Lawrence, but he doesn't pick him up in time. So we've got a few things going wrong on this. And a lot of it is set up by the fact that the defense isn't worried about the sneak. They're now going after a different sort of launch point or target point. And the absolute worst thing of all is in the play design here, they bring Gittins across. And why this is a bad idea is because you're now bringing Richard Leonard into the play. He wasn't involved earlier. Leonard was over here, not involved in the play at all. Gittins comes across, they're in man coverage, obviously, and he's going to follow Gittins, and he's going to end up getting a good fit on Chad Kelly right at the goal line. I would rather, if you're going to send motion like this, I would rather this were a read option out of this look. I don't love that either, but to me, that's better than what we've got here. Leonard makes a great play. The only reason this is a touchdown is because Banks had the wherewithal to grab Kelly and shove him into the end zone before he falls down backwards at the 1. I'm not against giving it to you, the running back, in this situation, but it's got to be from under center. It's got to be in a formation from which you're also going to sometimes run a quarterback sneak. That makes sense. I'm going to put these two plays on the screen at the same time so we can compare. And I want you to see the difference. It's going to illustrate why shotgun runs are less advantageous in this situation than runs from under center. And it's not going to be for the reasons you think. I think a lot of people think, well, the running back's getting the ball much deeper in shotgun and everything else. That's not really what happens. They're both 3rd and 1 situations. They're both against cover 0. The running back's actually going to get the ball at about the same spot here and traveling at about the same speed. The difference is in the defense. They're all assuming it's a run play either way. But when the quarterback is under center, they have to guard against the sneak as well as focus on stopping the back. In shotgun, there's no threat of the sneak, so they can pin their ears back. They don't have to monitor the middle the exact same way, and they can close in on one spot. And you can see the difference in the penetration that both teams get here. Obviously, it's a very different result. These are extreme results, but it shows you, I think, pretty clearly why you want to be under center in this scenario. The defense treats it much differently. So to conclude, It is not one thing that has led to Toronto's difficulties on 2nd and 1, 3rd and 1 situations. They don't have the offensive line to simply plow ahead like Montreal, but they also shouldn't go into shotgun. They need to run these plays from under center, and they need to attack the defense where they're weakest. When the box gets jammed, you take it outside. When they've got the advantage inside, then run it through the right hole. As we've seen from other teams, they can also benefit from having backs in the backfield, and I'm not opposed to putting a defensive player back there as a huge fullback. It's not absolutely necessary by any means, but it is an option that I would rather see than them going to shotgun. Thanks so much for watching this week's film session. My name is Ben Grant. I'll see you next time.